The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I thought this was the one.
It's Flesh Wound After Dark time. I am Night Eyes Security Officer Dan, here today to introduce you to producer Todd Loya. We're holding down the fort tonight, keeping the ladies safe. Oh, yeah. What's up, Todd?
I thought maybe this was the one you wouldn't do it. Wasn't this one?
Am I just gonna be classy all of a sudden? You gotta draw on the ladies, Todd. The ladies, people will just stop listening if I don't do sexy voice. They'll stop. I mean, come on, Todd. It'd just be like taking Shannon Tweed and Tanya Roberts out of it. Like let's just cast Kathy Bates. She's a good actress. It won't matter. People will still watch. No, they wouldn't. And they wouldn't watch us if I didn't do sexy voice. Just be lucky. I'm going to show up in HBK gear. I'm going to get the glasses, and I'm going to have the same outfit, Todd.
So what are we talking about tonight, Dan?
We're talking about the Night Eyes franchise, Todd. Yes, a continuation of our erotic thriller series that we've been doing here on Flesh Wound After Dark. They've been incredibly popular shows, so it's awesome to know that there's people out there like us that do enjoy these so much. In fact, Body Chemistry, I believe, is our most listened to show of all time. So that tells you something. And
so that's up to you, Night Eyes fans, to get this to be our number one show of all times.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, if maybe Body Chemistry wins the war. I don't know. We'll see.
This was my most anticipated series for the erotic thrillers.
Yes, absolutely. This is one of the Titans because I still remember that Prism VHS tape, I believe it was, for 2.
Well, we're talking about 1 first. I'm pulling out.
Well,
one.
yeah. I'm not jumping into the movies yet. But yes, I mean, you can imagine young Dan going to the video store and so I probably just stood there and drooled for like 10 minutes, figured out how I was going to bullshit my parents. Like it's like a James Bond or something, whatever.
Wait.
That's more or less what I do. I'd grab something.
Dan, I hate to tell you this. They knew. They knew.
No, they didn't. Actually, I'm not going to say how young I was, but I come up with some of the most ridiculous.
Wait. Why wouldn't you say how young you were? How old were you when you were watching it? No one's good.
I don't know exactly, but young. Yeah. I mean, not that there was certainly worse things that I bullshitted my way into watching from the video store. It'd be like just something like, why exactly does he want to rent this Shakespearean period piece? Because I heard they had boobs in it, but that's not what I'd say. I was just like, you know what? I'm just really interested. I think I might major in that someday, yeah. So I had some really compelling lies about movies. Like, what is this? It's just be like, it's like a James Bond spy thing. Yeah. Andrew Stevens is like a secret agent and he's trying to, I don't know. I'm sure that was more or less what I used to say. But I should say, Todd, do you know what inspired Night Eyes? Because it's quite a fascinating story how this idea came about.
I do not, but I'll let you know later how it inspired me.
All right. Well, this inspired the film.
No, I understand that, and then I'll tell you after how the films inspired me.
First off, Night Eyes was a huge hit. The first Night Eyes was a titan on home video. It made well north of $30 million on a less than $1 million budget. So that gives you an idea, once again, just how big these movies were during this golden era of erotic thriller, which will be getting covered very soon on a really probably my most anticipated movie of 2023 is a doc called We Kill for Love from Anthony Penta, which feels like it was tailor-made for Flesh Wound Features. We are so excited about this doc. It's going to cover the golden era of erotic thriller, and we've talked about it ages ago, even pre-YouTube, that these films should be better appreciated, and I think they are. It kind of shows that those are our most listened to shows.
Yeah, and since you brought up We Kill for Love, we should mention the doc will be at the Overlook Film Festival March 30th to April 2nd. So if you can, definitely go check it out, because we want to. Let us know. And also you can check the Instagram channel for more updates, and that is at We Kill for Love. So check them out. They also have a Facebook page, but
nice.
Yeah.
Well, you'll be hearing a lot about that doc.
Yeah.
We'll probably be fawning over it for many episodes to come, I would imagine. So yes, Night Eyes was, according to a interview from 1997 with Jag Mundra, who is the director of the first film. We'll be talking a lot about him here in a minute. So it was apparently inspired by Andrew Stevens, his experience having an affair with Rod Stewart's ex-wife, wife at the time. And as he was exiting the house, a security guard came up to him and just said, "Good night, Mr. Stevens." And he said he realized that the house was just bugged, and like all of this was like probably being recorded. So that's the true at least according to Jag Mundra, that is what inspired Night Eyes. And Andrew Stevens also has an entire career behind the camera, as well as a producer, writer, director. As we'll get deeper into this franchise, we'll talk about that. So before we I'll talk a little bit more about the directors as we go along. But all right, Night Eyes from 1990, one of the ones that changed the game, literally, from director Jag Mundra. And in this, a security guard named Will Griffith is hired to gather evidence of adultery against the wife of a rock star and ends up getting involved with her. They are both thrust into a dangerous situation. That's a terrible description, but we'll get into it a little bit more.
I could have just read it off the back.
I was gonna say I wish I still had VHS, because a lot of this isn't available on DVD anymore. But yes, thrown into a very dangerous situation with backstabbings and all that good stuff that we love in erotic thrillers. So before I get into the movie itself, I just want to talk a little bit about Jag Mundra, because if you want to learn about erotic thrillers, of course, we've talked already a lot about, Fred Olen Ray, of course, who is a very important name when it comes to erotic thrillers, and we've discussed some other directors going along on this series that we're doing. But Jag Mundra, when he did this in 1990, after that, he pretty much was just doing erotic thrillers straight through the 90s. Some people may recognize, if you're a horror fan, Jag Mundra is known for his 1988 horror film Hack-O-Lantern, which is a lot of fun. Also, the 1987 Adrian Barbeau slasher film Open House.
Oh, so, yes.
For you horror fans that are tuning into this and maybe don't know a lot about erotic thrillers, that's essentially what Jag Mundra is known for. But he was extremely prolific throughout the 90s with erotic thrillers. After Night Eyes, he did Last Call with Shannon Tweed and William Catt, Legal Tender, which had Robert Davi and Tanya Roberts, also Morton Downey Jr. from who is a body chemistry alumni. He did The Other Woman, Wild Cactus is one I remember quite well with David Naughton. LA Goddess, Tropical Heat, The Other Man, Improper Conduct, Irresistible Impulse, Tainted Love, and Shades of Grey, just to name some. He was very prolific when it came to erotic thrillers, and he kind of closed out the 90s with some of those Kama Sutra films. Jag Mundra had a hell of a career, of course, an Indian director who sadly passed away in 2011, but we owe him a lot of gratitude for some great video store memories. And yeah, so as I was saying, this was a titan, an absolute titan on home video. It's insane the amount of monies that these were making, at least those sort of staple films that came out during the early wave, and sort of that post Fatal Attraction wave. And this also predates Basic Instinct. So yes, Night Eyes, we follow Andrew Stevens and Tanya Roberts' character. She has Warwick Sims, who plays Brian Walker, her asshole husband, who kind of has a falling out with her at the beginning of the film. Big humiliating scene at the beginning at this house party, and he gets busted just basically banging a girl right there. I don't know how, like, not even trying to not get caught, basically. And that kind of throws us into the action at that point, because we're going through a divorce proceeding, and Will kind of, even though doesn't seem to care about her, he doesn't really want anybody else to have her, and that kind of sets us onto this sordid little story. So the original Night Eyes, and I want to say this is one of these cases where I think I might have even watched 2 first, because I distinctly remember that VHS, and then of course basically watching almost all of them, or at least the first 3.
I saw 2 first, then I immediately got the first one.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm more of a Shannon Tweed guy than I am a Tanya Roberts guy. And as we go on in this series, I'll kind of explain why. But I think the original, they were still kind of finding their footing going forward. I do like the original quite a bit. This is kind of in that, again, for those of you that might just be tuning in for the first time, we've explained this on other shows. Like, these aren't softcore. You could slap that on these, but they're not really what you think. These are not these bump and grind films that you're probably used to when you hear that term. These very much real movies, might be a little bit lighter on the skin than you might expect. These are very comparable so far to the body chemistry films, which do kind of evolve a little bit as you go on. So yes, these are very couple friendly. Again, they're not particularly dirty or anything. You could easily watch this with your girlfriend or wife. And I don't think the chemistry was there with,
or you can watch them with your security guard too.
You could watch them with your security guard.
Give them some signals. You ever see Night Eyes?
Yeah, and there's a good bit of action here too as well. Like I said, I'm already kind of giving it away. This isn't my favorite of the franchise, but Night Eyes is interesting because there is a little bit of recurring characters throughout it. Now, yes, we do have actors playing different roles, but the character of Will Griffith kind of continues throughout this whole franchise, versus an Andy Sidaris situation where it's like, well, wait, who are you now? As you go along his filmography, it's just like, okay, so you were the villain in the other one, but now you're the hero, and now she's not the bitter enemy of this girl, she's her sister in this one. Like it's like all over the map. So there's at least some continuity.
What are you even talking about? I got lost in that description.
I know, I'm just explaining like Will Griffith. There is like some same guy.
No, I get that, but I don't. The other part lost me.
Andy Sedaris.
I know
like,
he
you know
is.
how with the Sedaris films it would just be like,
oh yeah.
In my head, I thought these sequels, because I haven't watched them in many years, like totally ignored the others, and I'm like, well, no, not really. These still make sense, other than Shannon Tweed playing a different character.
But we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Where are you at with the first one? Was this like one of the first? Well, you're older, so probably not. But was this like one of the early erotic thrillers for you?
No, because I did say I saw the second one first, which made me go out and see this one. I don't think I don't remember my first erotic thriller, but like the first time me knowing what an erotic thriller was Night Ice 2. I was like, all right, I understand this is what the genre is. So to me, this is always probably the first one I think of when I'm thinking erotic thrillers is the Night Ice 2. First one that pops to my head, at least. And if it's not specifically that film, it's specifically Shannon Tweed. But I am a fan of the first one too. It kind of lays the groundwork. It was kind of jarring going backwards because.
Would you say a great script? Because there's some fun like sort of double crosses and twists to the story. These movies do have story.
I would, again, yeah, and that's what makes them enjoyable, that they do have story. The only thing jarring watching from the second to the first was Will Griffith's accent's a lot more Texas in the first one, and it kind of goes away in the second one, and so it kind of threw me off the first time. But it makes sense. He's in LA longer. He loses the accent. So
I'm gonna say we were not there yet, but I will tell you something that is mind blowing if you didn't catch it as we get deeper into this franchise. But yeah, I just there's something about these movies, and obviously, like as a young teen, whatever I was earlier than that, getting a hold of them, there were reasons. Puberty being the main one, but you can, even after all these years, you can really enjoy these movies just as movies. They're, I think, extremely entertaining. There's a certain formula to them, and obviously, again, we're talking the golden era here, where as you go deeper into the 90s, it does become more bump and grind, which we have an affinity for that as well, and we will cover all those. But
like I've said before, I think 13-year-old us is looking for a different thing in this genre now, and that's the thing. Now, watching them with adult eyes, you see how well-made films they are, and which is kind of the reason why we're trying to spotlight them more.
Yeah, I had a conversation with a friend of the show, Drew. Devon Graham, about body chemistry not too long ago, and kind of similar. Yeah, I think these movies have way more fans than people realize, and quite frankly, a lot of these should be getting like more, Blu-ray releases, DVD at the very least, because there's a lot that never even made the jump officially, at least in America, to DVD, and I think they're overlooking the fans out there. A lot of people, when I bring it up, it's like, oh, I remember Body Chemistry. I rented that from my local ma and pop. And I think they underestimate the fans that are out there for these. But yeah, so I think the original is a ton of fun. Jag Mundra, say what you will, like, Hack-O-Lantern has its issues, but this guy always managed to make an entertaining movie. Like, I don't know that there's anything much that I've seen from him that I didn't at least enjoy. And in the case of Hack-O-Lantern, it was some of the batshit craziness. Maybe it's something not coming from America. There's a lot of happy accidents in his film. And in this one, I mean, Warwick Sims plays a great sleazeball as the sort of husband rock star. He's very good. I feel his hair, even at this point, it's like, dude, it's a few years out of date at this point. But I really enjoyed watching him. The scene where he just kind of makes this big spectacle announcing the divorce and everything is really just a ton of fun. And Andrew Stevens, really, we argue who the queen of the erotic thriller is, but I can't think of anybody else that I'd put above him for the king.
He's the king.
Thriller.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue with that. I mean, you could argue for Fred maybe, but he was only behind the camera. I think that's why it makes Andrew easy as the king.
If you're going on screen, Andrew Stevens, all the way. He just had his that's just. I mean, not that he didn't have an awesome career aside from that. In fact, with Andrew Stevens, you're more likely to remember him from stuff like The Fury or 10 to Midnight with Charles Bronson, I'm sure is one that comes up, or a lot of his Roger Corman stuff, of course. Andrew Stevens was just so prolific. What amazing movie memories he's left for us just across every genre. And just going to say it's never too late for Night Eyes 5, but there's some potential ideas there.
We'll talk concepts at the end.
Another kind of, I think Tanya Roberts was a little more conservative about the nudity that she would do versus Shannon Tweed. Although strangely enough, Shannon Tweed also in an interview somewhere at one point always put over like, well, I never did frontal nudity. And well, yeah, actually you did. If I'm not mistaken. So we go on and it's not a body double. So,
well, we will.
Yes.
We'll notice it now if it happens.
So Todd, where do you kind of fall on this one? It's really crazy. Also, some of the side actors that also kept popping up during this erotic thriller craze, because we have Larry Poindexter in here, Chick Venera, who have smaller roles here, but would also go on and essentially play what I will call the Andrew Stevens role in other movies that we've covered. Be sure to go back and look at some of our other videos. That, and you know what, always it's the gratuitous like jazz music that we get. The saxophone, like, and I don't want to say all of them, but like a lot of them.
They love that saxophone in the 90s. That's one thing I'm just like
Don't like saxophone, Todd? It's very relaxing.
It was a little overused in the 90s. Now it's kind of a throwback, but yeah, that was everywhere. But
so yeah, how do you sum up the original? Because I think we're going to geek out even more as we go along, but that's a good thing.
I think it's a good entry point and it lays the groundwork for the rest of the series. I do enjoy it. I enjoy some of the sequels better, and where I'm sure we'll talk about them and kind of tell what order we like them at the end. But my order might have changed actually. So. Yeah. Should we rate it?
Might as well. So I'm 4 stars still on this one, and it's an essential if you want to dive into erotic thrillers. This is one of the biggest hits.
Well, 14-year-old Todd, I'm just guessing, gave it a silver star, so I'm going to transfer that to it's a 4.
There you go. 4 sounds good. So yeah, check this out, guys. Hopefully there's somebody out there listening to get these things on Blu-ray. It's a day one purchase.
I believe the first 3 are all with Lionsgate.
All right, well, Lionsgate, get your shit together. Please. All right, so
we want Prism Collectors series. Forget Vestron, right?
Take on Vestron. We
will head up the whole line. We'll.
we absolutely will.
We might even know an expert too.
You have our permission to use any of these podcasts that you want on the Blu-ray. All right, so Night Eyes 2 coming in at 1991 from this time director Rodney McDonald, who I'll talk about here in a second. And Night Eyes 2, security expert Will Griffith has been hired to secure the mansion of South American expatriate Hector Mejenez, who has had attempts made on his life who has had attempts on his life upon the insistence of his American wife, Marilyn, played by arguably the queen of the erotic thriller, Shannon Tweed. It's always a battle of the Shannons. I'm putting Tanya Roberts below the Shannons, personally. This is also one that Andrew Stevens was a writer on. So he's... once again, not just in front of the camera, he's behind it as well. Very talented guy. And so the director, Rodney McDonald, also very, very prolific when it comes to the erotic thriller genre, but he did some other things as well. I mean, really not as many movies overall, but he made a mark with Ultimate Desire, Scorned 2, which that's a big series. He also returned for Night Eyes 4. But also kind of actually really when I look not as prolific as I thought, but made Sonic Impact, which was an Ice-T action disaster movie. He did some
Well, that's probably why you thought he was so prolific. He got to work with Ice-T.
Yeah, that you just kind of quit after that. Once you get to work with Ice-T, it's like, well, this Marvel shit, I already worked with Ice-T. He did Sonic Impact with Ice-T. He did some work with UFO on some sci-fi films like Deep Core, Nautilus, which I remember that being a solid little sci-fi film. Some action stuff like Surface to Air, Fallout, Steel Sharks. You may not have done, a Fred Olen Ray or Jim Wynorski level of films, but he made his mark, and more often than not, I think I remember liking all those movies. So
he gave us Night Eyes 2, that alone.
Night Eyes 2 might be the highlight. So here's where I think the series really hits its stride. I think this is an awesome movie. And talk about the chemistry first, because I am going to talk the very fascinating cast in this one. But the chemistry with Andrew Stevens and his partner Tim Russ, who plays Jesse Younger, who would go on to fame not too long after this. Those two are hilarious together. I was like, they could just go off and do maybe we do a side adventure where it's just like an action comedy. Like let's do a Lethal Weapon knockoff with those two. So Tim Russ, you Star Trek fans will remember, he went on very shortly after this to play Tuvok in Star Trek Voyager. So if you're a Trekkie out there listening to this and you were ever like, man, I would have loved to have seen Tuvok fuck, you get to see Tuvok fuck in this one.
And there goes the classiness of this one.
Well, I'm sorry. It can only be so classy. The movies are classy. I never said I was. So yeah, you see Tuvok's ass in this. There's something for the ladies. There you go. Rodney McDonald, if he were here, I'm sure he would say you're welcome. So this movie's just the magic, I thought, really just happened with this one. Not just the chemistry between Andrew Stevens and Tim Russ, but the amazing chemistry that he had with Shannon Tweed, which carries on to the other films they did together. But here, I think it's the best display I've ever seen. At a certain point, it almost feels like you could be watching a rom-com. That bookstore scene where there's a really funny scene in a bookstore where they're flirting with each other, but there's this dorky dude that thinks Shannon Tweed is trying to signal to him. I thought that was just great. I love this movie so much. Out of the four, it's the one that I remembered the most. I was like, yeah, this is gold. And we also get crossover. John O'Hurley, who of course everybody knows from Seinfeld. I think he even hosted Family Feud at one point.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think one of the later ones. He's has a small role in here as a detective. He's popped up in these films as well. We're getting, this one's, I think, a sexier film than one. And again, that depends on the person. You might disagree. That just depends on your tastes. But it's another one that's very story driven, but it gives you a little bit of everything. And man, I laughed. I was invested. I cared about the characters. And yeah, this is just a great movie. It's a great movie. If anybody ever says like, "Oh, these things are just about the nudity," I'm like, "Hey, go watch Night Eyes 2. That is a damn fine movie, and it's still not that heavy on nudity compared to other things, but it gives you more than enough." And I fucking love this one, Todd. If there were a Hall of Fame for erotic thrillers, Night Eyes 2 has to be in there.
Oh, it's first one in there. I'm not even. Yeah, this okay. The one thing, like I brought up the accent earlier because the Texas accent disappears. I do like the nice touch if we get a shot of his cowboy boots under the table when she's playing with the foot, just so there's that continuity. So I really did. I like that. I caught that. And you brought up the Mr. Peterson, or Peterman. So like the thing about this one, like I was a security guard because of this movie. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be a security guard. It was nothing like Night Eyes 2, unfortunately. There was one time it was, but I was like, oh no. But so this almost gave me a career. Then I was like, yeah, that's not for me.
Speaking of John O'Hurley, could you imagine if Seinfeld were an erotic thriller? What's the deal with these titties?
Okay,
I don't know if that was a good song.
It was bad. It was bad.
I tried, Todd.
That is. I was gonna say something else positive about
What's
Night
the deal with this? Or Kramer.
Well, yes, I love Night Eyes too. Like I said, it's really like it's not my first erotic thriller, but it's what really when I knew what the genre was. Like this is what it is, and I want more. And immediately got the first one and really jumped into the genre. So I knew if Shannon Tweed was on it, all right, I got to get it. So, and I'll tell you a little bit of Todd history on this one. Back when he used to make movies as a youngster,
just hold it like this, see if it sticks to your hand, Todd. Is that your original VHS? Oh, well, you didn't think.
I keep the plastic on, so it's. But so when I was a kid, I one of the movies I made. It was like basically our Stay Tuned ripoff where you like go in different movies and stuff. There's one part I used footage of Night Eyes and I'm like laying out there. Maybe if I find it, I'll let you see it, Dan.
Yeah, I do need to see this immediately.
Maybe I'll let you see that in person on the 22nd.
I'm just saying I unearthed a clip from Curse of the Undead Crack Horror that you've gotten to see. So
I haven't gotten to see it.
You have it. I sent it to you, Todd.
Oh, well, then we'll have to talk later.
Yeah, I think it's
but yeah, no, I everything about it. Like, I mean, you nailed it. To me, this is the definitive erotic thriller. I mean, everything about it, from the artwork, the unrated artwork. The other artwork's a little more clean. But yeah, just such a good fun. I love
it is. There's so much to it. Revisiting a lot of these, and there are some obscure ones that are great as well. But
which we'll get to.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We're gonna just keep going. This is one, like, I guess if you've been following these shows, and I may have said it about others, but man, this is a great entry point. It really is, to sort of say like, yeah, I had a lot of fun with that movie, aside from, the obvious. Shannon Tweed is timeless. Like, she is still beautiful, man. Yeah. Like, she's in her 60s now, and she looks like, she's in her 30s. I mean, it's insane. She's a beautiful woman. And again, this just has everything I love about it. The plot turns, the double crosses, there's so much going on, and it's wild how well these hold up. I love these these movies so much, and Night Eyes 2 might be a contender. Maybe I have to revisit everything to say it is the best, but within its genre, Night Eyes 2 is tops.
Yeah.
For sure.
So from there, it had big shoes to fill when we got Night Eyes 3. I remember being so excited.
Well, do we want to rate this, or we?
Oh yeah, okay. Let's rate it, then I'll go into that story. Good point. I'm getting too excited.
5.
Let's guess. Let's see the color on this one. It's a gold. So what's that make it?
That is a 5. Todd and his gold star.
That's the only one. Apparently I aged out of it by the time I got to 3.
Just putting random stars. It's like I can just picture like your mom, just like I noticed Todd is gold starring anything with titties.
I know. See, my mom knew. She'd see me watch this one a few times, and being super excited when this one came out, because I was a video store kid, so I'd go through and look at the magazines that had all the street dates and stuff. So I remember that page. I was like, oh shit. So I was super excited. And of course there was the unrated version again.
Yeah.
So we got Night Eyes 3.
There you go. It's coming into frame.
So Dan, why don't you tell us about it before we talk about it?
Honestly, probably equally sexy artwork. Given something for the ladies too with Andrew. All right. So 1993's Night Eyes 3, which is this time helmed by writer and director Andrew Stevens.
There we go.
And in this one, security guard Will Griffith falls for a famous TV actress he is hired to protect while dealing with mobsters who want him to sell out his business to them. This one is also notable for co-starring Tracy Tweed, sister of Shannon Tweed, as Dana Gray, who is her co-star / rival for the TV show that they are on together, which it's hilarious. So like I said, going back and watching this again, and the TV show is Sweet Justice, which should have been an actual TV show, because that would have been awesome to have the Tweed sisters together. So this doesn't really reboot. I mean, it does have continuity in the sense that we've got Will Griffith. It's still it doesn't like unmake any of the other movies. We've just got Shannon Tweed playing somebody different, which is fine. They still have insane chemistry that carries over to this. They were a winning duo together. As we get to this point, you definitely start seeing more and more as far as the skin. One of my personal favorites, and it's hard to put anyone over the Shannons, but one of my personal favorites, maybe a top 5 most beautiful woman in film history. I absolutely love her, and she's one of the best actresses in a lot of these movies. Monique Parent, who plays a small role. Legitimately, at least for my taste, one of the most beautiful women to ever walk the earth. Wow. And she has a small little role here. It's kind of steamy, because in this one, Shannon Tweed's character, Zoe Claremont, is dealing with her boyfriend, right? I don't think they were married. Boyfriend who is sort of like a NFL burnout. His career is just sort of just gone to shit, and he's kind of a hanger-on, using her for her money. And in this one, her kicking him out sort of ties into all of this stuff with Will Griffith because again, even our heroes in erotic thrillers kind of have a bad side. It's like, I'm putting hidden cameras to film you, but I'm still the romantic lead, and you're still gonna fall in love with me. So yeah, it's kind of similar set up as far as the asshole boyfriend goes, and this one, once again, like I said, just the chemistry is amazing. Also, really cool seeing the scenes with Shannon Tweed and her sister. There's a really funny moment where she just punches her sister, and I mean, you could pretty much see the smiles there and just how much fun I think they were having making this. Now, don't cheat and look it up. Are
Okay.
you aware of, because you probably wouldn't be, but are you aware of who the actress that plays Andrew Stevens' daughter is?
I am not.
Allison Mack.
Oh,
And,
I knew I knew she was in it. I didn't realize that was her. Okay.
and if you're unfamiliar, Allison Mack went on to fame for playing one of the main roles on Smallville.
Among other things after.
Well, among some other things, but she's also unfortunately known as one of the Nexium cult leaders. Not the top guy, but unfortunately she was the one that was like procuring a lot of ladies. She was convicted. I think she's in jail right now. I'm not really sure where that.
Those are the among other things I was speaking of.
Yeah, among other not good things. Oh man. So, go ahead, Todd.
For me, it's funny because it didn't. I like this one a lot better now than I did. Like I never disliked it, but I always thought it was like not as good as the second one because the second one was so high up for me. Watching it this time, the little issues I had here and there were gone, and I just had a great time with it. Again, not that I ever didn't like it, but I think I had a lot more fun than I ever have with it. So I was really happy with that. It's not 2, but it's close now.
You know what? Like it's maybe I prefer 2, but it's not a big drop off or anything. I mean, it still feels pretty close to on par with 2. It doesn't lose any of the magic as far as I'm concerned. And with these movies, there's certain plot developments that some people may look at and think are ridiculous, but I think it all adds to the fun. It's kind of not an entirely dead genre, but mostly dead. Like we really don't get these very often anymore.
Yeah.
Actually Asylum, there's a couple from Asylum that kind of are the most recent examples that I can think of. This also has a great finale. Shannon Tweed gets a lot to do here. She gets to do a little bit of action, comedy. She's got the romance going on with Andrew Stevens' character. She's got the connection that she has with Allison Mack, the daughter. This is just a really good movie. And again, on the erotic front, correct me if I'm wrong, but I sure as hell saw full Shannon Tweed nudity, including frontal nudity.
I'll notice from now on. I didn't.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Flesh Wound Dan remembers these things.
I'm sure Mr. Dan did. I mean, skinned it.
I didn't have to. I saw it right on the big screen. Yeah. Again, just they don't make them like this anymore. Sound like a broken record, but they don't. They just don't make them like this anymore. I had an absolute blast with 3. It holds up. If anything, as you go along, it does up the skin. So there's that. It's another, I'd say, essential. I'd say the whole franchise is pretty much essential, to be honest, at least up to 3. We'll see how we feel about 4.
A late entry into the game.
Yes. Yeah. Very
well,
late.
Really, it's not that. It's only 3 years. But.
Yeah, but a lot had changed.
Yeah. It was a long 3 years if you were in that era. So why don't we.
Yeah. A lot. Unfortunately.
Wait, did we rate 3? Did I do it again?
You did it again, Todd, but go ahead and rate it.
3, I want to give it a 5, but it's right under. But you know what? Because it's so close, I think I'm going to give it a 5 also.
I'm still a 5. If you like these movies, these types of film, it's still like way up there near the top. It really is. And I think Andrew Stevens is a great director.
I agree.
So there you go. And just remember the good times when it comes to Allison Mack. Try and just like after Smallville, maybe just like let's just pretend that nothing else. Like she lived happily ever after and never became a cult figurehead. So moving on to the fourth film with returning Rodney McDonald as director from 1996, Night Eyes for Fatal Passion. So a few things about, well, I'll read the synopsis first. So successful psychologist Dr. Angela Cross puts in a new burglar alarm system in her home due to some threats she received. Steve Caldwell and Will Griffith install her system, and after Will gets shot during a burglary attempt, Jeff and Angela have a hot relationship going until another break-in at her house. This is a really weird description too, so I'm sorry, but Angela has some secrets from her past that could be exposed if the stolen tapes are viewed. All right, so sorry, I don't have like the VHS tapes like Todd, so I'm trying to get the best synopsis I can. So once again, though, similar setup with this. There you go. I wonder which tape is like. I feel like that might be one of the more valuable ones because this is like that weird era. Like we're still a couple years out from DVD.
There is a DVD of this though.
Okay. Yeah. So
2 actually.
Yeah. Nice. So a lot changed in the 3 years in between movies here. This is not the golden era. There's a lot of stuff from this era that I like a lot. So but objectively, no, it's the budget's shrunk. These certainly weren't grossing like $30 million on video like they did. So first off, I want to talk a little bit because we don't have Shannon Tweed in this one, which is kind of surprising because she's still very active at this point. It might have just been a budgetary sort of thing, but she is replaced. Well, not replaced because it's a different character, but Dr. Angela Cross is played by Paula Barbieri, who is famous for being O.J. Simpson's girlfriend at one point.
Former girlfriend.
Former, well, yes. I don't know. Maybe they reunited,
Right.
but that's one thing that she's essentially known for. She was a Playboy playmate, I believe. Movie output, not a whole lot. This was actually her last film. She was on the Red Shoe Diaries TV series and did a few other things, not much of note, but
there is a piece of trivia that she broke up with O.J. Simpson on the day of the murder.
Oh, well, it's her fault. Never mind. That's a bad joke. Bad joke. I'm sorry, and I don't mean it. I don't mean it. That was mean. But beautiful woman. Absolutely stunningly beautiful woman. Not a very good actress, unfortunately. This is kind of where the quality, there's definitely a quality decrease at this point. This is also notable for an early appearance from Casper Van Dien, who I believe had shot not long before this, right around the same time, Beastmaster 3. Very new, of course. Just a year later, he would go on to find fame in Starship Troopers, and he would play Tarzan and Tarzan in the Lost City, and to this day, probably one of the reigning Sci-Fi Channel original kings because he's been in a lot of those.
Yeah.
So that's the other casting of note in this. Chick Venera once again pops up as a different character. He's been in a lot of these. We get a sort of very, very brief Jacqueline Lavelle appearance in here, who also, at least she's definitely one of the queens of Flesh Wound After Dark. For sure.
She's definitely a softcore girl.
She's a softcore girl, yeah. And also, in my opinion, one of the greatest softcore films of all time, the first Femalien.
Yeah.
That it will have to talk the Femalien movies at one point, because I absolutely love her in that, and her Full Moon stuff in general.
Yeah, all that Full Moon stuff, which is not, not softcore. There is some skin, but yeah, she's from a great period of those films too.
Yes. And I totally forgot that she was even in this. So Andrew Stevens at this point, I think, was like kind of trying to pass the torch to a new character. Obviously, we didn't get any more after this. And I think Jeff Trachta, I'm not sure how to say his name, he's fine. I have no real complaints with him as an actor. I wish Paula Barbieri was a little bit better, because she's just not great.
She was pretty to look at, though. I have no complaints.
Pretty to look at, not complaining about any of the erotic scenes that she was a part of in this. But there's no doubt, like, I don't think any fans of these would be like, you know what, 4 is my favorite. I don't think that person exists, quite frankly. Or maybe they do, and you can, as always, be sure to leave comments where you fall with these movies. But it also has this, I don't know, this is like a personal taste thing. There's nothing erotic about eating food off of another person.
Well, Dan, you already have a food thing going, but it's not my thing. But you you go hard the other way.
Depends, but like, okay, I have used whipped cream and shit before. It depends.
Dan, stop. Move along.
What? I'm going to give you a detailed rundown, Todd. That's what Flesh Wound After Dark's all about. All right, that's fine. I'll tell Todd off air about the cream play. All right, I've got a cream play for you to read. So I don't have a whole lot to say about this one, to be perfectly honest. Just nothing works as well as the other films. There's no chemistry there. It's similar. There's still like the double crosses and plot twist. It's not an awful watch, but this is, even for like this point when we're out of the golden era, it's not particularly memorable. I could kind of see why this was a swan song for her, which, I mean, imagine when this was being made, though, too. This is like right in the middle of that OJ trial, pretty much, because that was, what, 95? Depending when they filmed this, like, she might have been going through some shit at the moment.
I think that was 96, though, but
well, maybe the trial was 96. I feel like 95, maybe the crime.
Maybe it was. Yeah, my memories go. Well, I'm a little different on this one. I was never really a fan of this one, but upon this watching, I did really have a lot more fun this time. Definitely, a little step down from the other two. But I mean, I was always like, well, we don't have any of the other cast regulars, so that was always kind of a bummer. But I mean, because you have Andrew Stevens for a bit, but this viewing, I don't know, it just felt like I was okay with the new cast, I guess, now from like almost 30 years ago. But
I do believe we have something special at the end of the show.
Yes.
I believe.
And it's not my favorite, but I had a lot more fun this time. I think, well, we'll say what our orders are.
Don't you think, like, at least by the end of this, like, and it obviously would have gone deeper into the softcore realm, but this would have made a great TV series.
And that's where we were going to get to when we get to our future of the franchise. I was going to
yeah. Like, this is the era of stuff like Passion Cove, Hotel Exotica.
See, you could even get away with a USA Silk Stockings type show with this format too.
You could if you wanted to.
I mean, we prefer the other way, but I'm saying like of that
Yeah.
era, and that's what this one feels like to me. And I think that's why I kind of like, all right, I kind of got into it this time because it does kind of feel like an episode of something like one of those shows from the era, where the other ones don't because they have that star power that this one doesn't.
Yeah.
And like even on like a TV show, maybe you'd get like one of the names from the movie to come on for a little brief camp. So it even has that kind of feel to it. So I think that's why I kind of like, all right. But yeah, and that's when I was thinking like this would make a fun TV show. And
It's
I
like
thought,
Baywatch,
like,
but actually show the boobs.
well, yes, like I said, there's two ways to do it. You can do the pay TV route, or you can do the, like I said, USA. Baywatch.
You can just see like Andrew Stevens and Shannon Tweed running on the beach, like in the open.
Well, like
it'd have to be like a beach town where they're just like dealing with like cheating spouses and
next on the USA Network after Monday Night Raw, Night Eyes.
Pat,
how happy would you be
on this episode? Pat Morita is abusing his trophy wife. It's like Mr. Miyagi, like you've never seen him before.
But yeah, that would have been. I still think that concept, like the whole concept of the franchise, you can still do something like that. Concept still works.
Yeah.
Even like on a big budget, I mean, you have that chase and stalk stuff elements in there. Yeah, I'd love to see another something else, a remake, continuation, not that something that doesn't harm continuity.
Can you imagine Pat Morita yeeting Julie Strain over the kitchen counter?
You and Pat, okay? No,
I don't know. Like just by that point, late 90s, Pat Morita might have guessed it on this show.
I lost my train of thought.
Actually, Julie's got the height advantage there. She got the best of it. Sorry for my nonsense.
No. What would you rate the final entry?
I'm a 2.5. This is just kind of middle of the road stuff for me.
All right, I'm a 3. I like this one a lot more this time. So, order of the franchise. I'm just gonna guess yours is the same as mine, which would be 2.
Yeah. 3. 1. And 4. You could kind of figure that out as you were going along, bro.
Yeah, that's I figured we'd be on par on that one. And I could see 3 growing. Maybe it could overtake 2. I don't know. There's so much nostalgia for 2. I don't think it actually would.
Oh yeah, no, it's and you know what? I don't see any reason we can't have these films again.
No.
I mean, yeah, they were classy films up to a point. So
all right. Yeah. And now the other thing, because we normally do have our merchandise segment. So we got a little bit of merchandise, kind of. Yes, well, it's merchandise. I mean, it's something like of that. From the director of We Kill for Love doc, Anthony Penta. He sent us something cool. So I haven't even opened it yet because I figured I got him in time for the show. Let's just open it up on the show. Go ahead.
Nice.
All right, here we go.
Let's see. It's Christmas morning right now. Oh, I love that.
We got our night.
I'm gonna be a dork, and it's gonna like go on my like leather jacket.
Yeah,
my security jacket.
Put it on the sleeve. Yeah, those are very cool. Thank you very much, Anthony. And once again, Anthony's documentary, We Kill for Love. You can follow at We Kill for Love on Instagram. And it's also, you can look it up on Facebook. And it's going to be playing at the Overlook Film Festival, March 30th to April 2nd. So that was very cool of him. So these are, Dan, yours will be safe till you're out in California in a month. So I'm not gonna put them on my sleeves and drive around with both of them.
May have to have Pugs make one of those jackets for me where I can put that on. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna live my life from now on as Will Griffith.
Why do you think I went to the security? It wasn't right. It's like, damn it.
Shannon Tweed never once tried to fuck me. God damn it.
Damn you, Gene Simmons. But
it's just a weird old lady who asked me to look for her cat and try to grab my ass. That's it.
Yeah.
So yes, we will definitely be covering that doc. We'll be talking a lot about it because I think I love a good doc in general, but this is a period that I'm really glad somebody finally decided to tell that story, and I think it'll hopefully ignite some reinterest in a lot of these films.
I know people complained about the length of like some of those In Search of Darkness documentaries. I want it as long as all of them. It could be a 10-hour documentary. I'll be fine. I don't care.
Yes. I could watch an 8-hour doc on this stuff. I really could. So yeah, we gotta beat Crystal Lake Memories or whatever that was called, and all of that.
I agree. It's time for the erotic thriller to rise.
So if you're in the area, we highly recommend you check that out. Also, guys, before we clear out here, we've got more After Dark content coming soon. I think we've got Body of Influence and a bunch of other things dropping. We will also be sure to tune in for you horror fans to our live show, which is usually Wednesday, sometimes Tuesday, depends, but usually Wednesday, Flesh Wound Horror Live.
We'll be back to Wednesday next week.
Yes, we do all kinds of stuff, so be sure to check it all out. And be sure, if you're in the area, check out this doc. I am dying to watch it. It is like, I'm not kidding when I say my most anticipated movie right now.
No, I'm with you on that. I can't wait to see this thing. And
when I'm down there in April, we're just going to wear these badges everywhere.
We're not.
We
will not. We promise it.
We absolutely, positively are. Night Eyes Security. Then, yes, I'll be Will Griffith because I make the most sense as an erotic thriller lead. So, I'll be Will. Where do we put... God. I'd say we could... Is it racist if I make Pugs Tim Russ? Because I don't know of anybody else that he could be.
It's coincidental.
Okay, but it's a great character, so there you go. Hopefully a better end for Pugs, though. Todd, I don't know who you would be. You get to pick who you would be.
I'm going to be Will Griffith, too.
There you go. You're Steve.
There'll be two of them.
All right, guys. So on that note, thank you so much. Be sure to check out all our other Flesh Wound After Dark shows if you're fans of these movies, the ones we've done and the ones that are still coming. And on that note, good night.
Good evening.